Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, I am showing you a Pokemon V of a Pokemon that I kind of love. Copperajah. Which, incidentally, I keep spelling wrong. I keep putting an extra R after the A, and there isn't the first A. So, sorry about that. Try and fix that, shall we? I love Copperajah. Love the design of the Pokemon. Love it in the games. Adore the Copperajah from Sword and Shield. 220 for free energy on a single prize Pokemon. Pretty gosh darn good. Do I love the Pokemon V? Let's have a look, shall we? Now, our translation does come from the lovely Antoine Boulet, one of our very, very favourites here. And to start off with the basics, 220 HP is fairly gigantic, but it's in line with Zacian V. It's fine, but it's not exactly phenomenal. And it's actually less than Zamazenta V, so it's decent, but it's not out and out phenomenal. Retreat cost of 4 we actually do really like. It opens up a bunch of tricks. It means you can use buff padding to get a bunch of extra HP, so then you do have a huge amount of HP. It means you can search it out with Pokemaniac, and this is nice. We like a retreat cost of 4. We like the resistance to grass as well. Rillaboom decks are looking fairly good over in Japan at the moment, so the fact that you can then resist all of them is pretty gosh darn nice. We don't like the weakness to fire. Welder decks are everywhere. Fire decks are great. We've seen Reshiram and Charizard be really good since it came out. We've seen Torkoal V getting a whole bunch of traction since it came out. You give up 2 prizes and have a weakness to these Pokemon. That is not a good thing. But you are a metal Pokemon, which means in the short term you're hitting weakness against fairy Pokemon like Gardevoir and Sylveon, though we know they are going away. But it means you've got things like Metal Frying Pan, so you take less damage and remove your weakness in your Face Fire Pokemon. Lucario and Melmetal, so you take less damage. Metal Core Barrier, so you take less damage. It's kind of a theme for metal Pokemon. It means Metal Saucer to accelerate a bit of energy to you, which could be pretty huge. And actually, yeah, this ain't too bad. So if we start off with the attacks, then the first attack, 1 metal, a second metal, 1 colourless, 90 damage. During your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes 30 less from attacks. Now, I just finished telling you that these metal Pokemon have this thing that they do, whereby they like reducing the amount of damage done to you by attacks. Oh yeah. See where this is going? We have the potential here to be pretty gosh darned tanky. Like really over the top tanky. Because you see, ladies and gentlemen, whenever you, and let's be clear, right? Whenever you can do 90 damage, this is the attack to use. One of my favourite old examples was the Jumpluff from Heart Gold Soul Silver, which was one of the best decks back in the day. It was absolutely phenomenal. It saw a huge amount of play. And the reason people played it was for mass attack. 1 grass energy, 10 damage for each Pokemon in play, yours and your opponent's. 2 full benches, 120 for 1 energy at that time was ridiculous. But if you could get a KO using Leaf Guard, you always got a KO with Leaf Guard. It only did 30 damage, but it was for the same attack cost, and it meant that you took 30 less from attacks next turn. That was actually really good. That was kind of awesome. Well, this is that, but a billion times better. Because you start off with 220 HP, which is pretty gigantic. Then you remember that you're probably using Lucario and Melmetal's GX attack in the early game, so you take 30 less from attacks. You've probably got a Metal Frying Pan attached. You could use Metal Goggles, which reduces damage by 30, while also meaning damage counters can't be dropped, but that's a really specific metagame call. If you're really worried about damage counters, then yes, obviously go Metal Goggles. The vast majority of the time, Metal Frying Pan is just inarguably better. So now you're taking 90 less damage from attacks, and you've got no weakness, and you've got 220 HP to start off with. And then you start healing. And then you start going, oh, hang on a second, isn't Indeed EV a thing at the moment? Yes. Yes, it is. Once during your turn, you may heal 20 damage from your active Pokemon, but that stacks, so you could keep going. And of course, we've also got Mallow and Lana. You switch to the bench and heal 120, and that's for when Indeed he won't work. At the moment, Stonjourner V is Well, there's a few different ways to play Stonjourner, but it's one of the big tanky decks we've got at the moment. And if we compare this side by side with Stonjourner V, I'm taking Copperajah. Same HP, but you've got the retreat cost, which means you can go buff padding. Obviously, you're choosing buff padding or metal frying pan. You can't go both. But Stonjourner V does 40 damage, reducing damage by 20. This is 90 damage, reducing damage by 30. And okay, it does take 2 extra energy, but you're a metal Pokemon, so you've got Metal Saucer. So I'm not that worried. Also, at one point during the game, you can drop Solgaleo Prism Star, and that will be phenomenal. Although it will rotate out a couple months after this comes out, but until it rotates out, it's redonkulous. Because 1 metal energy for each of your opponent's Pokemon in play. Attach a metal energy from your discard pile to your Pokemon in any way you like. And if you can get enough energy on here with something like Solgaleo, you could potentially buy yourself a couple turns of Hyper Potion to heal 120, but you got to discard 2 energy. That could be awesome. I don't know if you've got quite enough energy in this deck to do it, but it would be really fun if you did. And this is just a better version of Stonjourner. Yes, it's more energy hungry, but again, Metal Saucer. But you can play buff padding, or you can play metal frying pan, and you can use Lucario and Melmetal, and you reduce damage done by 10 in the first instance, and you're actually doing a really nice amount of damage. 90 damage is 2-hit KO single prize Pokemon, and weaker things like Eldegoss that I showed you a moment ago. And 3-hit KOing pretty much any relevant tag team Pokemon. Something like Mewtwo and Mew goes down in 3 hits here. And then 4-hit KOing VMAXs, which, okay, that's kind of annoying. But then again, you're still KOing them in a decent amount of turns. 4 turns to do 360 and KO a Snorlax V might seem really annoying. But if you compare that to how many turns it takes Stonjourner, okay, to be fair, they're hitting for weakness. But you know what I mean. You're doing a decent amount of damage here. That's my point, ladies and gentlemen. That's my point. I love this as a tanky Pokemon. I think you're going to go all in on the tanking. But time you use Lucario and Melmetal's GX attack, whack a Metal Frying Pan on here, and you've got a 220 HP Pokemon hitting 90 damage, reducing damage done to it by 90, and then chuck in some healing. Love it. And then if you whack a 4th energy on, you do 180 damage. And 180 damage is good. It's not phenomenal, but it's good. The thing to remember here is that when you combine it with a first attack, that's 270. That's any Pokemon V, pretty much all of the tag team Pokemon. And that's really nice. You sit there and tank, you sit there and tank, you sit there and tank, while doing a decent amount of chip damage. Because 90 damage is, calling it chip damage is slightly disingenuous. But what you really need of a Pokemon like this is the ability to go, right, now I just need to do a bunch of damage and get 1 big KO. Oh, look! I can. Oh, if anyone's wondering, I never actually said, the writing on here is because it is the box promo that you get for buying a couple boxes of the set. There we go. But this second attack fits beautifully with it. I don't love it on its own. I think if we're just talking 4 energy, 180, yes, it worked for Ho-Oh back in the days of Kiawe, but we're a little bit past that at this stage. But in the format where we're sitting there tanking and we occasionally need a slightly bigger attack, now I am actually really loving it. And maybe it's just because I love Copperajah in the game. Maybe it's because I'm still in love with the Copperajah from Sword and Shield. Maybe it's just because I really want to play some big metal heffalump at some tournament in the future. Maybe I'm biased and not looking at it straight, but I'm sorry, this seems really good. And in a world where Stonjourner V is great, why wouldn't this be? You do more damage for your big attack, more damage for the main attack. You can use way better tricks and you reduce damage done to you way better. And the only thing Stonjourner's got going is a cheaper attack, but then you've got Metal Saucer and Solgaleo Prism Star, which basically mitigate them. I'm loving this. I'm getting it 4 Wassies. And that might be too generous, that might be too enthusiastic, which I can be an enthusiastic man, but I don't even care. I think it's great, and I'm not afraid to say so. But whether you agree or disagree with me, I would love to know. So let me know in the comments section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are pretty gosh darned awesome. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.